Hi, I'm Sam. I'm the co-founder of Kingdom Impact Lab, and in this video series I'm going to explain the concepts within the Sermon on the Mount, which is in Matthew. This is Jesus's most condensed teachings in the Bible, and I'm going to try to explain each of the core principles within the Sermon on the Mount and explain what it means, explain what it means in the context of what I'm doing in my business, and also explain how the Sermon on the Mount and each individual principle will form the foundation to build a business on biblical principles and what that actually means practically. So this video series will be slightly different from my other videos, and this one here is me basically going through. I have a big massive printout here with about 70 pages of notes that I've taken from studying the Sermon on the Mount over the last several months. And so I will be looking down and referring to my notes as I go along, but the intention behind these videos is simply for me to explain the concepts, to help develop my own understanding of them, and then my other intention is to record the videos and then turn the transcript into a first draft, so then I can edit the first draft through and then publish these as articles and frameworks later in the future. So let's jump in. So we'll start off with the Beatitudes. So in this video we will be talking about Beatitude 1, which is blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. So what does this essentially mean? So in this context, being poor in spirit means that you have to acknowledge your need for God, and if you are poor in spirit and you have to acknowledge that you need God, you need that transcendent ideal, you need to have a relationship with God, this is a mindset of humility. Now, in the context of how to explain this in terms of a psychological lens, I like to look for what Jordan Peterson teaches here. And Jordan Peterson explains that blessed are the poor in spirit is to have humility in the face of the unknown. And so what this kind of means here is that you have to understand and recognize that you don't know everything. It's having this kind of mindset, that the mindset of going into something new and not thinking that you know everything, you know how to do it. It's not going into an interaction with a prospect in your business filled with confidence that you're gonna do things, because every client, every situation, everything that you do is different. There are nuances to the situations. The difference is if you have the confidence because you have the experience, that when you have experience you have encountered different problems perhaps multiple times, and so you're familiar with the nuances of the situation, and so you can progress forward with a little bit more wisdom based on practical real world experience of different things. Now, what does this actually mean in terms of why you need to adopt this principle in business? So essentially you have to embrace the fact that you don't know everything, and you have to adopt this mindset that your ignorance is infinite, and if your ignorance is infinite, there is always something that you can learn from every situation, every interaction, every video that you create, like this one here, every piece of content that you create, every time you have a conversation with someone on your team, every time you do anything, basically. And if you have that mindset when you approach business in general, this attitude of humility, you will be trying to learn from the person that you're interacting with, from the piece of content that you're creating, or with a video like this. You'll do it on a sort of quest where you are doing it in order for you to develop your own understanding on things, rather than focusing on conversions, subscribers and various vanity metrics. And it will allow you to pursue excellence in what you do, and to practice actions of extravagant love, or extravagant kindness, humble service, because every time that you do something, you have the opportunity and the mindset to approach every person, whether they're someone reading your articles, whether it's someone on your email list, someone on your social media. You can approach everything you do through the lens of how can you do something to be a blessing to them, how can you impact them in the best way possible. And you would do this, and you would kind of, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that if you ask yourself, how can I be the biggest blessing to the people I'm going to serve through this specific thing I'm doing right now in my business, it opens the door to an unlimited amount of opportunities of what you can do, an unlimited amount of ways that you can make the normal, mundane tasks of what you do in your business to become interesting and exciting, by applying this attitude of humility and trying to learn from everyone. If you're talking to a prospect, for example, you'll be able to get to know them as a person, find out what their unique gifts are, and everyone's unique, and that is objectively true, because every single human is unique because of the specific combination of unique life experiences that they've had. No two people can be the same, because no two people have had exactly the same experiences. You can go in there and you will be genuinely showing interest with them as a person, and that is the way where you would go into the way that you do these things in your business. And then the second thing here is that if you adopt this mindset of being poor in spirit, or having this humility, you will always open the door for transformation. And if you go into a situation where you are overconfident, for example, if you were to record videos, or if you were to do coaching, or if you were to provide a service, and you've recorded videos on this topic dozens of times before, you've delivered this same service dozens of times before, you've coached a group of people similar to the people you're coaching now dozens of times before, it then becomes mundane and ordinary, and you go into it not with an attitude of how can you be a blessing and help these people, or how can I go into this situation and learn how I can become better. When you become better, that is your pursuit of excellence. When you go into the situation with a mindset of how can I be the biggest blessing to these people, that is how you go in with your attitude of extravagant love, or extravagant kindness, or radical generosity, whatever you want to call it. That's where you go into that interaction, and that's how you can pursue Christ-likeness in these everyday situations in your business. But you need to have that humility in order to be able to have that transformation in what you do. So that's just a description of how all of this works, just got to sort of, if it's coherent, I hope it's coherent. Now, if we were to look at what the opposite is, when you do not adopt the attitude of being poor in spirit, then the reality would be that you are focusing more on yourself, and you are allowing your sins, the intrinsic human emotions and human whims, in order to control what you're doing and the direction you're going. And so in business, this is essentially means that pride would take over. It would be the pursuit of wealth at all costs. You do things, you track the various metrics in your business for vanity reasons, how many subscribers you've got, how many likes you've had, how many this, how many that. Nothing necessarily wrong with doing that, but when you start to measure your self-worth and the self-worth of your business based on those statistics, it can become a problem. And so, whoops, the camera fell there, sorry about that. So if you were to measure your self-worth based on the vanity metrics, and your vanity metrics are quite low because you're starting out or you haven't got much traction yet, then you would automatically conclude that you're unsuccessful, and you don't want to continue, you don't want to pursue what you're currently doing, you don't want to keep going. Whereas the opposite is true, that if your vanity metrics are particularly good or exceptionally good, you start to think it's all you, and then you allow pride to take over, and when pride takes over, it becomes all about you, which is where other problems go downstream. And so what would be the point of this video? What would be the point of the way that you apply this Beatitude 1, blessed are the poor in spirit, into your business? Well, the first way that I'm going to do this is, instead of me going out into the world and trying to position myself as the expert, like I did for so long with my marketing agency before, I'm going in there and I'm talking about how all of these results that I've got, and I've managed to get this client 7x ROI within so many days, or how I made this client, this amount of money in 30 days. Well, that is a transactional. That is transactional at its core. That is essentially prioritizing money, ROI, and all of those other negative aspects of what you chase above everything else. And I'm going to try to switch that from I am not the expert here. I am on my own personal journey of discovery. I'm on my own personal quest of trying to learn the truth about things, trying to develop frameworks, trying to deepen my own understanding, and trying to steward my gift of learning and education and my passion for knowledge into a way to benefit others, which would be through teaching. And my goal is to be more of a co-explorer on a quest for truth, on a quest of understanding, on a quest to treat each person in the way that they are as a real human. And that is the way that I'm going to apply this. And I'm going to try to apply that through my outreach efforts on LinkedIn, through content. It's because I'm unscripted. So by the video being unscripted, I'm at risk of going down rabbit holes and spinning in circles and doing various things. But also it's to take people on the journey with me, because I don't know where the video is going to end up or the conclusion that I'm going to draw, which is exactly what Jordan Peterson does as well. And in the way that I'm going to interact with people, my plan is to go in there with humility, that for each person that I interact with, I want to learn from you. I want to learn from everyone that I interact with, because there's an infinite amount of things that I can learn about any person. It's just down to me to ask the right questions and know how to communicate it. So that is it. So just to summarize the Beatitude 1, which is, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. This here is having a posture of humility in everything that you do, and taking the focus away from the transactional interactions that you typically have in the business world and the marketplace, and focusing on the actual person that you're dealing with, whether it's at scale through content creation or one-on-one, interacting with people, prospects to have a call. It's to go in with an attitude of what can you learn from them instead of what can you get from them. It's an attitude of how can you be the biggest blessing to them. How can you help them in the biggest way? How can you impact them in the biggest way? Whether it's through one piece of content at scale or through an individual conversation. And it's having this attitude of humility so you can pursue excellence in what you do. Okay, that's all I've got for you in this video. I'll see you in the next one where we talk about Beatitude 2.